What's that park? What's the name of that park you're at?
Burgess.
Burgess?
Yeah, they actually have yellow. Burges. So it could be Burgess or Burgess. I hear it said multiple ways. But they have a little pond here that I'm parked outside of, and they whenever they're in season, they have a few yellow lotuses in there.
Yellow lotuses. Wow.
Yellow lotus flowers. Yep.
Can't wait for the. I took those two young ladies to the farm yesterday, and I took them to the lotus pond, and they visited the palace, and one had never been introduced to Krishna consciousness before. Her name was Kara.
Nice.
She's a technical medical technician or a mobility technician at Mercy Hospital here in Pittsburgh. She's really nice.
Okay.
She says she wants to come to care.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's a good.
I'm trying to get more
good
people.
Deal.
All right, so I'm going to share the screen now.
That's perfect.
Okay, this is a new chapter.
Quiet, buddy.
Okay, I'll read the Sanskrit and the synonyms, etc., and you can read the purport since you were the first on, and then Alan, you can read the second verse purport.
Not 4 minutes.
Sutta vacha. Evam sam arnesamya bhagavan devarshir janma karmacha bhuya prapyat shaktam brahmam vyasa satyavati sutta. Synonyms. Sutta vacha. Sutta said. Evam thus. Nisamya, hearing. Bhagavan, powerful incarnation of God. Devarshi, of the great sage among the gods. Janma, birth. Karma, work. Cha, and. Bhuya, again. Prapacha asked him, Brahman, O Brahmanas. Vyasadeva, Satyavati Sutta, the son of Satyavati. Translation. Sutta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and the son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Go ahead, Trevor.
Vyasadeva was further inquisitive to know about the perfection of Narada Ji, and therefore he wanted to know about him more and more. In this chapter, Narada Ji will describe how he was able to have a brief audience with the Lord in the transcendental thought of separation from the Lord, and when it was very painful for him.
Text 2. Vyasavacha Bhikshubir Vipravishate Gyan Vigyanat Destribir Tava Vartamano Vyasya De Tam Kim Akarod Bhavan. Synonyms. Vyasavacha, Srila Vyasadeva said, Bhikshubi, by the great mendicants, Vipravasite, having departed for other places, Vigyan, scientific knowledge and transcendence, Adistribi, those who had instructed Tava of your Vartamana, present, Vyasi, the duration of life, Ade, before the beginning of, Tata, after that, Kim, what, Akarot did, Bhavan, your good self. Translation, Sri Vyasadeva said, what did you, Narada, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth? Go ahead, Al.
Vyasadeva himself was a disciple of Narada Ji, and therefore it was natural to be anxious to hear what Narada did after initiation from the spiritual masters. He wanted to follow Narada's footsteps in order to attain the same perfect stage of life they desire to inquire from the spiritual master is an essential factor to the progressive path. This process is technically known as how do you pronounce that?
Sadharma Pricha.
Krishna. Okay.
Pricha. R with a dot under it is Ari. It's like Ari, Krishna. You know, R with the dot under it. That's the essential part of a devotional service. The progressive path of devotional service, it describes, you know, Tadvidi panipatine pariprashnena sevya updekshantite ganam ganas tattva darshana. Just try to approach a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service to him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So if you ask questions, he's very merciful. So the spiritual master will answer whatever questions you have and try to guide you on the progressive path of Krishna consciousness. Text 3. Swayambhuva tayak vritya vartitam te parambaya katam chedam udashraksi kale prapte kalevaram. Swayambhuva, O son of Brahma, Kaya, under what condition, vritya, occupation, vartitam, you spent, te, you, param, after the initiation, vaya, duration of life, katam, how, sha, and, idam, this, uda, shraksi, did you quit, kale, in due course, prapte, having obtained, kalevaram, body. Translation, O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? How did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course? Go ahead, Trevor.
Sri Narada Muni in his previous life was just an ordinary maidservant's son. So how he became so perfectly transformed into the spiritual body of eternal life, bliss, and knowledge was certainly important. Sri Vyāsadeva desired him to disclose the facts for everyone's satisfaction.
X4. Prakalpa vishayame tam smritim te muni satama. Nahi esha vivadat kala esha sarva nirakriti. Synonyms. Prak, prior. Kalpa, the duration of Brahma's day. You know how long one day of Brahma is? Trevor or Alan?
Forget.
4.3 billion years. And he lives for 100 years. So he actually took birth after that period of time. You know, he was a son of a maidservant, and then he took birth in the next kalpa. That's one kalpa, is 4.3 billion years. And there's a partial devastation of the material manifestation. Everything is not destroyed. That's after Brahma's entire life. But after one day of Brahma, that's just 24 hours or 12 hours. 24 hours is twice that. And he lives for 100 years. And that would make 311 trillion years. That's how long he lives.
Wow.
But even he has to die. Yeah, the time scales in this Vedic cosmology is just like, you can't even imagine. You know, if you take $1 billion bills and put them end to end, it would like wrap around the earth 4 times. So
wow.
Let's see here. Okay, text 4. Prakalpa vishayam eta or etam smritim te munisatama nahi esha vivadat kala esha sarva nirakriti. Synonyms. Prak, prior, kalpa, the duration of Brahma's day. Vishayam, subject matter. Etam, all these. Smritim, remembrance. Te, your. Muni satama, O great sage. Na, not. He, certainly. Esha, all these. Vyavadat, made any difference. Kala, in course of time. Esha, all these. Sarva, all. Nirakriti, annihilation. Translation. O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time? Go ahead, Al.
As spirit, it is not annihilated, even after the annihilation of the material body. So also spiritual consciousness is not annihilated. Sri Narada developed this spiritual consciousness even when he had this material body in the previous kalpa. Consciousness of this material body means spiritual consciousness expressed through the medium of a material body. This consciousness is inferior, destructible, and perverted. But subconsciousness of the supreme mind in the spiritual plane is as good as the spirit soul. It is never annihilated.
Super consciousness. Supra mind. Supra means like transcendental. So that would be the consciousness of the super soul, Paramatma. It's as good as the spirit soul. See, that when you have a material body, we're not the body, we're not the mind. Our consciousness is like looking through rose-colored glasses. It's not really, we think we're the body, and so we can't really see everything clearly. But when you come in contact with the Paramatma in the heart, then it's like being awakened. It's like looking in a mirror. When you wake up in the morning, you see your face, you see everybody else, you see the world around you in reality instead of like what you think it is. Everybody has a misconception of what this material world is. They say, this is my house, this is my body, this is my land, this is America, I live in my land. None of those things are true, because you're not the body, you're not the mind. We don't belong to any kind of land. We don't belong to any kind of caste, color, or creed. We don't belong to any nationality. We're not Russian, American, German, whatever. We're none of those things. Those are called false designations. But what are we? We're a spirit soul, and we're meant to serve Krishna. And that's our constitutional position, as eternal servant of Krishna. Text 5. Narada vacha bhikshubir vipravasite jnananad distibir mama vartamano vyāsadeva tatai tad akarasham. Synonyms. Narada vacha, Sri Narada said. And I wish I was there for that conversation. I mean, just reading this, but just to hear Narada Muni, can you imagine? But, this is like non-different from that conversation. The Bhagavad Gita is exactly what Krishna said to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. Like it said before, the supra mind, the supra soul is undiluted even after 4 billion years. So, it's not transformed in any way. It's the same knowledge. Let's see here. Synonyms. Narada Vacha, Sri Narada said, Bhikshubi, by the great sages, Vipravasite, having departed for other places, Vigyan, scientific spiritual knowledge, Adrishtibi, those who imparted unto me, Mama mind, Vartamana, present, Vyāsadeva, before this life, Tata, thereafter, Etat, this much, Akarasham, performed. Translation. Sri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. It's your turn, right, Trevor? Or is it yeah.
In his previous life, when Narada Ji was impregnated with spiritual knowledge by the grace of the great sages, there was a tangible change in his life, although he was only a boy of 5 years. This is an important symptom visible after initiation by the bona fide spiritual master. Actual association of devotees brings about a quick change in life for spiritual realization. How it so acted upon the previous life of Sri Narada Muni is described in this chapter.
See, he was only 1 year older than Zannu. So because Zannu has such a good father, maybe he'll become Narada Muni. He'll be like a transcendental spaceman in his next life. You never know. I mean, that it says in the seventh canto, talks about how Komara Apachara Pragna. Komara means 5 years old. That's when you should start teaching kids about Krishna consciousness. Maybe Zannu can't. I mean, he's already chanting Hare Krishna and running around like a madman in your house, right?
He knows a lot. He knows a lot more than.
Probably knows a lot more than I do.
Most people would be pretty surprised by him. He watches Krishna's pastimes in the form of a cartoon. He's got books. He's always around it. He's always being engulfed in transcendental sound waves and whatnot. So to say.
You watch that Krishna cartoon?
Yeah, Little Krishna.
Yeah, Little Krishna. I've never watched
that. Actually pretty on point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I saw kids, when I was living in New Vrindavan in the 80s, they would enact these pastimes. They would play them out, just like kids play, and they see what, like they'll watch a Lone Ranger or some other, crappy TV show, and they'll think, like they'll play cowboys and Indians and stuff, But these kids, New Vrindavan, they were playing like little, they're playing Ram and Lakshman in the forest,
cool.
With Sita, and they had like bows and arrows or fake bows and arrows or whatever. But one kid said to the other kid, "Lakshman, take Sita to the mountain cave." They were just playing out these pastimes that they heard from the Ramayana.
That's awesome.
So, I know, it's like that's the way, Prabhupada, when he was a little boy, he also was immersed in those pastimes. And a good thing to do is read these books like we're doing now, and for the kids. And it's all these stories that just get imprinted into their consciousness, and it stays with them forever if you start early enough. So, and then they can be delivered from the cycle of birth and death. It says in another place in the Bhagavatam, it says, no one should be a father or a mother or a demigod or a guru or a king or anybody who has dependents unless you can deliver your dependents from birth and death.
Right.
So that's the rule. So
that's a good rule.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw Little Krishna before. Look, I saw that little show before, and then the Apu series. They're pretty good. Little Krishna's pretty good to watch.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It's really good. Same with the Apu series.
Yeah, they have a whole series of like pastimes, different pastimes and stuff. I don't know. I've never seen it. But anyway, let me go on here. Check 6. Akatmaja me janani yosin mudha chakinkari mai atmaje nanyagato chakre snehanubhadanam. Synonyms. Eka Atmaja, having only one son, my Janani, mother, Yosit, woman by class, Mudha, foolish, Cha, and Kinkari, maidservant, Mai, unto me, Atmaje, being her offspring, Ananyagato, one who had no alternative for protection, Chakra did it, Sneha Anubandhanam, tied by affectionate bondage. Translation: I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. I guess there's no purport for that one. So I'll just read the next Sanskrit, and Alan, you can read the translation of the next verse. Shashvatantra na kalpa sid yogakshema mamechati ashishya hi vaselo ke yosha daru mai yata. Synonyms: sa, she, ashvatantra, was dependent, na, not, kalpa, able, asit, was, yogakshemam, maintenance, mama, my, ichati, though desirous, ashisha, ashasya, of providence, he, for vase, under the control of loka, everyone, yosha, doll, darumai, made of wood, yata as much as, go ahead now. Read the translation.
She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under a full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. Wow, it's true.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. You know, everybody thinks I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Everybody is controlled by Krishna in the form of material and energy, and they are completely controlled. It's like, you know, it's like a bull. It's tethered to a rope, and the farmer pulls the bull by the nose ring, and the farmer pulls the bull this way, but the bull is thinking, I'm going to go this way, and then it pulls the other way, and then the bull thinks, actually, I think I'm going to go that way now. He thinks he's in control, but actually the rope is in control. But and similarly, everybody thinks they're the doer in this material. Nobody's the doer of anything. Everybody's controlled. Prabhupada said, if you think you're in control, you're the controller. If you think you're free, you're fool number one. So let me read. Actually, Trevor, why don't you we're going to skip the since there's no purport, so we're going to just skip the Sanskrit. Trevor, why don't you read the translation?
Okay. When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands.
Go ahead.
Once upon a time, my poor mother when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a certain serpent influenced by supreme time.
Read the purport too.
The purport, that is the way of dragging a sincere soul nearer to God. The poor boy was being looked after only by his affectionate mother, and yet the mother was taken from the world by the supreme will in order to put him completely at the mercy of the Lord.
Yeah, Krishna says, those who are upon, I am very merciful. I take away everything from them. I take away all their money. It happened to me. It happened to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was like, he had a pharmaceutical business in Allahabad, India, and they robbed it, and he lost all his money. And, you know, his son said, you should rebuild your business. You know, you should do it. You know, and he was just laughing. He said, no, this is Krishna's arrangement. You know, when you lose everything, it's Krishna's special mercy, because then you're more dependent on Krishna. You can't, you know, and it happened to me too. I lost both my jobs when I was living in Madison, Wisconsin. I was working in a little bodega, like a 7-Eleven type joint. And then I was working in like a submarine sandwich shop. I was like working in a meeting shop. I was so much in Maya. That's after I got initiated even in 1979. In 1980, I was living in Madison, working 2 jobs, and I lost both of my jobs for no reason. And so I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do? I thought, oh, well, I guess I just got to move back to New Vrindavan, because I'd been there twice. So Krishna took everything away. I tried to look for another job. I couldn't find one. So Krishna does that. If he's specially merciful to you, he'll take away everything, and he'll make all your family members hate you. So you have no, and he took away Narada Muni's mother in his previous life just so that he would depend more on Krishna. So that's the way he works, you know, it's all to the, you know, it sounds harsh. Have a little 5-year-old boy like with no mother, you know, but you know, that's the way, you know, Krishna takes care of her. He's protecting all the living entities. So he can protect a little boy, even though he has no mother. So let's see here. Go ahead, and Trevor, you read the next translation and purport.
Okay. I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees, and so thinking, I started for the north. Purport: confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be an odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as the special mercy of the Lord. Mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever, and by the grace of the Lord, the temperature of this material fever is gradually diminished, and spiritual health is obtained step by step. Mundane people misunderstand it.
I mean, who can understand like somebody like Jesus Christ, you know? He was about ready to be crucified, right? And he said, you know, the cup that my Father gives me, shall I not drink it? In other words, he looked at it as a benediction from God. And so that's pretty extraordinary, to actually see everything, even like a horrible thing like crucifixion. You know how painful that must be? To be crucified, hung, you know, by your hands with nails tied in your hands and feet and hung there, and then, you know, put a lance in your side. That must be pretty painful. I can't think of anything more painful. They did that on purpose, you know, so that.
What about and same with Mary when she had to witness it too?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like a mother's affection for her own child. Can you imagine that? It's just like, wow. I mean, my wife just started, you know, when our cat died, she was like devastated, you know. So like, what to speak of somebody that's, you know, the mother of God himself. Okay, we got 10 minutes left, so I'll read the translation, and Alan, you can read the purport. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. Go ahead, Alan.
The purport: the man's activities in agriculture, mining, farming, industries, gardening, etc., were all on the same scale as they are now. Even previous to the present creation, and the same activities will remain as they are, even in the next creation. After many hundreds of millions of years, one creation is started by the law of nature, and the history of the universe repeats itself practically in the same way. The mundane wranglers waste time with archaeological excavations without searching into the vital necessities of life. After getting an impetuous and spiritual life in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Muni, even though a mere child, did not waste time for a single moment with economic development, although he passed towns and villages, mines and industries. He continually went on to progressive spiritual emancipation. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the repetition of history, which happened some hundreds of millions of years ago. As it is said herein, only the most important factors of the history are picked up and recorded in this transcendental literature.
Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. It's the same sun, but it's just hundreds of millions of years later. And even these sages, you know, they were going through, apparently it was in some Indian-like atmosphere or seasonal changes, because, you know, they were in the monsoon season, and that's when Narada Muni, they took shelter of this woman who was a maidservant, and Narada Muni's had association with that for 4 months during the rainy season, because they don't move around when it's, you know, in the rainy season. That same thing that happens in India, you know, they don't, the traveling sages, they don't move around in the rainy season. They don't have that here in this part of the world, but in India, there's a time for a monsoon, you know, in other parts of the world too, but not here. Okay, so Trevor, why don't you read the translation of the next one? I passed through.
Okay. I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds.
Okay, Alan, read the next one.
I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerous, fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Do you want me to read the purport too?
Yeah, why not?
The purport. It is the duty of the mendicant. Is it mendicant?
Yeah, mendicant.
The
That
mendicant.
next word is Parivrajacharya. But that's a sannyasi who travels and preaches.
Okay. To experience all varieties of God's creations by traveling alone through all the forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strengthen of mind, as well as the enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. A sannyas is duty bound to take all these risks without fear, and the most typical sannyas of the present age is Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. In the age of Kali, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary men. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only a formality. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya did not accept the name of the sannyas, and in the age of Kali, the so-called sannyas should not change their former names. Following in the footsteps of Lord Krishna Chaitanya in the age devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended, and one who takes the vow of the renunciation of family life need to not imitate the
Parivrajacharya.
like Lord Narada or Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole lifetime and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the six Goswamis of Vrindavan.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya actually, this one guy was a householder and he wanted to travel with Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Chaitanya said, no, you just remain at home, and whoever you meet in your village here, just instruct them the message of Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. In this way, you don't have to change your dress, you don't have to change your ashram, but just become a spiritual master, become a teacher, and try to liberate everyone in this land, in this area. So that's the order of Lord Chaitanya. There's no need to change your name or get a danda or, change the order and put on saffron cloth or anything like that. Just try to tell everybody you see about Krishna and his words. These are Krishna's words. And we don't have to, it's just like introducing people to Krishna, it's very simple. Prabhupada was talking to like scholars and scientists and stuff. He said, I'm just giving you Krishna. Here's Krishna. Why don't you take him? It's just, it's very simple.
That's what I like about the Gita.
Yeah.
Krishna says you don't have to renounce anything, just invite him into whatever you're already doing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, and Lord Chaitanya himself said, I'm not a brahmachari, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a vanaprastha, I'm not a householder. I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis, of the Krishna. And they're the servants of Krishna. And so, dāsa, anudas. Das means servant. So we're constitutionally servants of the servants. The devotees are the servants of Krishna. And so we're servants of the devotees. We're the humble servants of the devotees. And the more humble you are, the less puffed up you are with your knowledge, the more Krishna takes you under his wing and protects you. If you think you're all proud of your knowledge and your education and your beauty or whatever, then you'll never make any advancement. Queen Kunti said that, said those who are proud of their bodily beauty or wealth or education, they cannot approach you with sincere feeling. But somebody's like materially bereft, like, you know, a lot of crazy people, you know, used to come to the New Vrindavan. We had this one guy, his name was Standing Dan. He'd stand out in the garden all day long. He was like a catatonic schizophrenic, but, you know, the city temples would send them to New Vrindavan because they didn't know what to do with them. It was just like send them up to the funny farm, you know. But, I was pretty crazy when I came there too, but you know, everybody's crazy in this material world. My wife takes care of people in nursing homes, and half of them are like severely mentally, you know. She was at the Palms again and Sterling Homes, and you know, like you're familiar with those, Al. But you know, they're all nuts. They just sit in the same place all day long, and then they go out and smoke a cigarette, and they come back and watch TV in the dark. I mean, what is there any questions? We got less than a minute left here. Sorry about that. But anyway, I want to thank you for joining me, and I appreciate it. I'm going to send this video to the neighbor because his phone doesn't work. He would have got on, but his phone doesn't work. So we'll send him this thing so he can keep up with us. That's a lot of verses up to text 14.